It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by thru-hulls, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, thru-hull has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
It's great to have you working around the boat with us again today on ShipShape TV. I'm John Greviskis, and welcome to America's favorite boat improvement show. What we're doing today is we're going to be installing a freshwater system on our 1978 Stamis project boat. We're not going to stop there. We're also going to show you how to properly install a saltwater washdown, as well as a way to make water. We're going to be installing a Galley Maid Mini 100 gallon per day water maker on a classic 1966 Hatteras 34-foot convertible. Get ready for a couple more great ways to make your boat shipshape.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by
Boaters World Discount Marine Centers. Real low prices, guaranteed. John's Pass Marina, on the water since 1964. Copcoat Marine Group, makers of Pettit, Woosley, and Z-Spar marine paints. Mermaid Marine Air Conditioning. It's cool to sleep with a mermaid.
This is the water tank that we had made. Actually, Nick from Best Fabrications in Lakeland, Florida, built it for us, and it's going to be our freshwater tank for our freshwater system. Now, you know, Nick, there's so many of these Nicks. It's kind of like that, remember that Bob Newhart show, Daryl and my other brother Daryl and all?
Hey, Bob.
I don't know if you got it, but tell us about this system. What's going on here?
Okay, John. Well, what we have is a system in the water that's not very much different from the fuel system that we installed in this boat a little while back.
Okay. Now, Nick, why would somebody want a freshwater tank?
Fresh water is probably one of the single most convenient things you can put in your boat and really reap a lot of pleasure out of. You're out fishing all day, say you got kids, they're in swimming in and out of the water, salt water, you need to cool off. It's so nice to have water on board, and let alone showers and cooking and such as well.
Well, let's see how Nick did for us on the size of this tank. Let's see if it's going to fit down in our area.
We did pretty good here, John. We were able to maximize our space and go with a 38-gallon fueled water tank.
Right.
Oh, it fits nice.
Oh, that does. It fits like a glove. You know, you can't do this with a plastic tank.
No, because the plastic tanks are pre-molded in set sizes, and I looked through all kinds of catalogs trying to find one that would fit in here and give us a decent amount of water, and there wasn't anything.
What's the price difference, though, between one of those poly tanks and one of these?
Well, an aluminum tank like this will start around $200. You can maybe get one of the plastic ones for $100 or $125, but I really think it's better to do the aluminum. It's going to hold up and last forever.
Now, what are these things for here, Nick?
All right, John. Again, it's very similar to the fuel system that we installed, and we're going to need to fill it, and we have a water fill here, and we're going to need to vent it. So when the water goes in, we got to get the air back out.
Okay.
So we'll mount a fill on the gunnel, and we'll mount the vent on the side of the boat. We'll run a fill and a vent hose, and then of course we have our pickup.
Now, what's the pickup for?
That's so we can get the water out, and we're going to do that with the water pump.
Now, this is a Flojet. What You were telling me earlier that this is a pretty special pump.
I chose the Flojet in an application like this because of its amount of pressure that it has. These things will shoot 15 or 20 feet. If you're washing your boat or hosing off, whatever, gives you plenty of water, and it's a low amp draw. We've got an outboard boat here. We don't have a generator. We don't have all these other ways to bring power. So this pump is going to not kill our batteries and still give us plenty of service and power.
And what kind of capacity did we get out of this?
We got 38 gallons.
Now, is that going to be enough for a boat this size and for a family use for the day?
Absolutely. Day use, 30 gallons is usually a good rule of thumb for a family of 4 or 5. 38 gallons gives you that little bit of extra.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start the installation.
Perfect.
We started with the water fill on the gunnel. We laid a thick bead of silicone sealant to seal it in place. We then hooked up our 1.5-inch white fill hose from the fill to the tank. Once that was done, Nick drilled a 3/4-inch hole through the hull for our 5/8 vent. Again using silicone sealant to make sure that it was watertight. Next, we ran 5/8-inch white hose from the vent and vented the tank. Then we mounted our water outlet, and then our Flojet high-pressure pump. We hooked up our 3/4-inch hoses from the pump to the outlet, and from the inlet side of the pump to the pickup on the tank. Well, the next thing we need to do is put some fresh water in our tank. But right now we need to go to break. But stick around, because when we come back, we're going to actually test this, and we're going to show you how to hook up a saltwater washdown. Stay with us.
Here's what's coming up next on ShipShape TV.
We now return to ShipShape TV.
Welcome back. Hi, I'm John Greviskis with ShipShape TV. Look at this guy and all the products he needs to maintain his boat. I guarantee you he'll be tripping over that stuff all day long. Forget that nonsense. Use what I use, the SureHold family of products, the one handle that does it all. Any one of these quality-built SureHold attachments easily locks right into place, and here's the best part. They're the best quality items money can buy. You have my word on it. Whether it's for your car, truck, RV, or boat, keep it ship-shape with SureHold products. I finished filling up our water tank with some fresh water, and Nick, we were talking about also hooking up a raw water washdown.
Right.
But we've already got water. Why would we do that?
Mainly you're going to see this on your saltwater fishing boats, John. Most of the time, somebody that gets into a lot of heavy fishing, kingfish, bluefish, a lot of your bloody fish, your dolphin, you know, you're going to want an immediate way to rinse the boat off and not burn up this precious fresh water. And you might, after you spray the raw water, come back with the fresh so you don't really, you know, get a lot of salt on your boat and hit it real quick.
Okay, well, let's talk about this system. Now, how much would it run the average boater to put in a freshwater system?
A system like this, we're probably looking at $350 to $400 range. We've got all good stuff here. We didn't chintz on this and try to put, you know, a cheap pump or a cheap this or that. We've got all good stuff, Perco fittings, brass hardware, good hoses, etc. $350, $400.
That's not bad. That's very reasonable.
Very reasonable
for an entire system.
Complete, done. Here we are. The only thing we really have left to do is we need to get this tank secured into place, and we've got this whole system done in a very short amount of time. I mean, we did not spend hours mounting this system.
Okay, now you were bragging about these Flojet pumps, and I want to test this thing out. Now we haven't put this on yet, so this is going to give us a decent amount of squirt.
Yeah.
On the deck here.
Yeah, I've used them a few other times.
Okay,
I
well,
love them.
let's see what happens here.
Wow.
That's not bad.
That's 20, 30 feet. Look at that. That's unbelievable.
That's into the wind.
You
notice I'm cooling myself off there.
We need it today.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's a little warm today. So, well, now we're going to hook up our saltwater washdown.
Okay.
What all's involved in that?
Very simple. Easier than what we've just done. We're going to share a seacock, which is already in the boat, for the head, and we're going to tee off of the water inlet for the head and run a hose back, mount another pump, and mount another outlet in the back of the boat. We'll probably mount it here on the port side so the two don't get mixed up, so you don't pick up the salt and think that it's fresh, etc. Real simple. Mount the pump, run a hose, hook up our fitting, and we're done real quick.
Nick, that system is a piece of cake to install, and right now we need to look at this new boat that actually Nick picked out this week. But stick around, because right after we're going to show you how to install a Galley Maid MiniMate 100 water maker on a classic 1966 Hatteras 34-foot convertible. Take a look at this new boat. You'll like it. I've got the best seat in the house aboard this 272 Sailfish Grady White at world-famous John's Pass Marina. And with us again today is the sales manager, Bill Hart, who's going to give us the tour of the boat.
This is Grady's Sailfish 27. It's 27 feet 10 inches long, John, with a beam of 910. You've got seating for 8 from the bow all the way back. You've got the best seat, as you said. If you notice on the Sailfish, it has what they call, it's a sport bridge. Has 2 big steps up to the helm. Gives you great visibility when you're out on the water. Also makes the cabin a little higher so that even a 6'6" man can stand up down there. You also have in the cabin for the ladies, you got a stand-up and closed head, a mid-berth, a standard refrigerator, and standard butane stove.
Well, you know, a lot of guys would go absolutely crazy to own a boat like this, but women like this boat because of the safety issues. Tell us about those.
Well, yeah, the Gradys are all filled with unsinkable foam flotation. That's one thing they like. And also the ladies, because of kids and such, like the higher freeboard. Grady's got over 2 feet of freeboard, and with the soft coaming pads, it makes it very easy to lean against. If you're fishing, you've got tow rails down there to hook your feet in so that if you're leaning over, hooking, gaffing a fish or netting a fish, it's easy to do, John.
So the mom can feel very safe and secure with the kids back here because it's such a high distance between the deck and the top of the boat.
And you've got a solid fiberglass door, unlike a lot of boats that just use a piece of polywood.
Okay, that's the transom door that you're referring to. And we use that when we catch big, huge fish, like big dolphin, record-breaking wahoo. Now, have you caught any of those yet?
Well, you would have to bring that up, John. I'd like to say I have, but no, I pull my grunts in over the side.
Well, I noticed that this boat has a hardtop, and it really sets the boat off. It's beautiful.
It's an optional feature, but for an offshore boat, I think that's what you need to, when you're walking around, you have something to hold on to.
Bill, what sets Grady apart from the rest of the pack?
It's a good question, John. The basic difference is the materials, the quality of materials that Grady uses, and their workmanship. They've been building boats for 38 years. The stainless steel is 316 laboratory. It's going to lasts for 20 years like that, but it's twice as expensive as other stainless. The boat's 100% hand-laid fiberglass. Gives you a stronger boat, but it costs more to do that.
And it's 3-piece construction.
3-piece construction. You've got a hull, an interliner, and a deck. They're all glassed together, so you end up with one unibond construction with the foam flotation.
You've got a unique hull on this boat. Tell us about it.
It's a CV2 hull. It was designed by C. Raymond Hunt Associates exclusively for Grady. Basically, John, what it is, you have a 20-degree dead rise at the transom with a hard chine, so you get stability. Each inch you come forward in the center line, all the angles are straight, you get a deeper V, and by the time you get to where you're sitting, you're over 30 degrees, which is deeper than anybody's deep V.
John's Pass Marina is right at John's Pass, Marker 1.
Marker 1 at John's Pass.
How do we get here from land?
By land, we're directly west of St. Petersburg on the northern tip of Treasure Island.
And you're open on Saturdays for service.
We have service on Saturdays for our customers. If you have a problem, just give us a call. We've been here 30 years, been a Grady dealer for 18 years.
That's great. Well, today I'm looking at the 27-foot Grady White. If you would like to see this boat for yourself, come on down, talk with Bill Hart. You'll be glad you did. I am telling you, these boats are looking better every week. Ron, what did you think of that?
Beautiful boat, beautiful boat.
I'd like to introduce you to Ron Tomasevich. He is the vice president of Galley Maid. He also happens to be an ocean engineer, and this guy knows water makers. You build the MiniMate 100, and I was hoping you could explain the system for us.
Sure, be more than happy to. As I said before, though, water maker is really not a correct term. Everybody calls them that, but they really don't make water. All we do is extract potable water from non-potable water.
Good point.
Okay. So the system is pretty simple. We start with an inlet thru-hull and seacock.
This is where the raw water is coming from the outside of the boat into the boat.
Into the boat, correct.
Okay.
From there we go into a raw water filter, which filters out large debris, seaweed, and nature.
Big matter.
Matter of that type.
Okay.
Then from the sea strainer, the water is coming into this low pressure pump, which is actually drawing the water in through the seacock and the sea strainer.
Okay, so let's back up here. This pump is pulling water through this into the sea strainer, and now where is it going to?
From this pump, it goes to the pre-treat filter, which is a very, very fine filter that filters out the dust and sand from the water, and it actually comes out clear from this filter at this point.
This is a 10 micron
10
filter.
micron.
Now, can you drink the water after it's through this filter?
No, the water still has the salt. It would still have any chemical impurities and bacteria and all
Okay.
that. It's only as filtering out the dust and dirt.
So where do we go from here?
From here, the water goes into the high-pressure pump in the machine. At that point, the high-pressure pump boosts the pressure to about 800 to 850 pounds per square inch.
Holy cow!
Now, that's high pressure.
That's
and
serious.
That's what's
Okay.
required to actually force the water through the membrane, which is this part of the unit here, which in effect is a simple filter.
Okay,
And it
so 800 to 850 pounds of pressure is forcing it through this membrane, and what is the water going through it? The fresh water?
The freshwater molecules are actually forced through the membrane. Their shape is deformed slightly because of the high pressure, and it pushes them through the membrane or filter. And they're put on one side, and the salt water goes out the other side. For every 100 gallons of salt water we bring in, we only extract 12 to 15 gallons of fresh water.
My goodness, and this makes 100 gallons of fresh water a day.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's a lot of water.
a lot of water.
This is a small unit, by
Very
the way.
small and compact, weighs less than 60 pounds.
That's unbelievable. The fresh water, where does it go once it's through the
once fresh
membrane?
water comes through the membrane, it's collected in a manifold and continuously monitored for salt content by an electronic circuit board that's within the machine. If the salt content is low enough, the water is then diverted into the holding tank through an electric valve. If it's too high, the water goes back overboard with the rest of the salt.
This is an incredible system. We're going to be installing it today on the 34 convertible Hatteras. Give me a price.
$24.95 for the unit from Galley Maid, complete.
Excellent. Now, can a do-it-yourselfer do this, or do you need help?
Absolutely. Do it yourself. You can do it. There's no problem. Should be able to do it in about a half a day.
Good stuff, Ron. Right now, we need to go to break and hear a word from our sponsors, but stick around, because when we come back, we're going to install this puppy on the boat. Stay with us.
Here's what's coming up next on Shipshape TV.
Why wax when you can pro polish? This premium protective wax from thru-hull can be used on virtually any non-porous surface, such as cars, boats, RVs, home equipment, and more. Pro Polish is scientifically formulated to repel water, provide a deep, high-gloss shine, and protect surfaces from the effects of UV rays, salt water, and other harsh environmental elements. Unlike traditional waxes, Pro Polish contains no talc or fillers, which means easy wipe-on, wipe-off performance that doesn't clog up microfiber towels. Enjoy a new way to protect with thru-hull's Pro Polish. thru-hull, clean and simple.
And now, back to the project.
Welcome back. We're at the point of the show where we're going to begin the process of installing our water maker on this classic 1966 Hatteras. And the steps are pretty easy. The first thing we needed to do was put in our thru-hull fitting. We drilled a 1-inch hole through the hull. Then we needed to sand the bottom paint off the bottom of the hull to be able to ensure a good bond between the 5200 and the high-speed pickup on the hull bottom. Then we screwed in and bedded in the seacock, being sure to countersink the number 14 through bolts, holding our seacock in place.
Finally, we drilled some pilot holes and screwed in our retaining screws for our high-speed pickup and finished up the seacock installation. Now we're back on board, and I have with us today Ernie Tomasevich, who is actually instrumental in the design of this water maker. Ernie, can you tell us why this was such an important thing for Galley Maid to build a small unit?
Well, as up until now, Galley Maid's had nothing but bigger units for the larger class boats.
And what would an average big unit be like?
The 400 gallon a day
Wow.
units started, in price about $5,000. Okay, so we try to design not only a smaller unit for smaller boats, but an economy priced unit also.
I see. I mean, 400 gallons a day. What kind of boat would use something like that?
Normally those boats start at about 60 foot or bigger
Yeah.
for a holding tank that big.
That's a lot of water, and
Yes.
I can see like a boat like this, 34 foot, a day boat, maybe a weekend in the Bahamas or a trip someplace. This is really ideal.
That it is.
Another thing I wanted to do while we had Ernie here was to give us a hand in the plumbing of this water maker. We've got the seacock in. Let's go from the seacock, Ernie, step by step, and do the installation and maybe give our viewers some tips on some things that they can do to prevent leaks.
Okay.
Now, Ernie, you were saying that you recommend not only the Teflon tape, but you like to use pipe dope for. What's the reason for that?
Well, when you go into 1/2 inch and bigger fittings, such as this one here, 3/4, it just gives a better sealant. The threads sometimes have a tendency to end up leaking if it's that size thread. So just as a precautionary measure, you put both on there so you don't have to come back and redo all your fittings again.
Sounds like a great idea. Well, we're going with a 90 off the top of the seacock, and we're going to run from that 90 into the pre-filter. And this pre-filter again was to filter out any of the debris coming in, large debris, seaweed or whatever, in a dirty harbor or whatever, and it'd be a good idea to put this in an area in which you could monitor it. And we're mounted it right here on the side of this stringer. It's going to slide in like so. And we're going to run 3/4 inch hose?
Yes.
Okay, so throughout the system up to the
boost pump is 3/4 inch.
All the way 3/4.
Past there, it's 1/2 inch into the machine.
All right, so we're getting a lot of flow here, right up into everything.
Right.
So we're going to mount this filter, and we'll go ahead and clamp our 3/4 inch hose from the seacock to the pre-filter, and then out of the pre-filter to the boost pump, and we'll go ahead and mount that.
Right.
Well, we chose this area here to mount this boost pump for a couple of reasons. One is the proximity to the unit, and second, the fact that it's below the waterline. And these pumps need to be below waterline in order to prime because they're not self-priming. Now, we've got our water set up going to the pump, and then we're going to come out of the pump into this final pre-filter. And Ernie, I see you've got some valves and such here. What does all this stuff do?
Okay, first of all, the water comes in here from the boost pump. Goes through the check valve into the filter, which is the 10 micron filter, and from there into the unit. Okay, what this whole thing is here is what we call the freshwater flush.
I see.
Okay, you simply hook a garden hose up here, open the valve, run the fresh water through the system for about 3 minutes or so after every use. Okay, then simply shut the valve off, unhook your hose, and you're ready for your saltwater use next time you start the unit.
So you want to get the salt out, just like you'd flush your engine or whatever,
Right.
get the salt out of the machine.
Right.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get this filter mounted and finish up our plumbing.
All of our raw water plumbing is hooked up to the machine. Now we need to determine where we're going to put our overboard discharge. Nick, what's going on with that?
Well, we've got a hose coming from the top of the machine, and we need to bring it to the overboard, outboard side of the boat here. And this boat already has a thru-hull, so we just reduced it down and slid our hose on.
Excellent. We're also going to need to put in a T into our vent hose, so we have a place for our fresh water to go into our tank, which is down below here. We have an 85-gallon freshwater tank down below us. We need to do a little bit of electric, and we're going to be able to fire this thing up.
Yeah, simple 110 voltage, and we're ready to go.
Right now we need to go to break. Stay with us, because when we come back, we're going to be drinking some water. We need it.
Ship Shape TV will be right back.
We now return to Ship Shape TV.
The Sure-Hold Soft Brush. Perfect for use on boats, cars and trucks, decks and patios, and even windows. Specially designed split-end bristles hold more soap and water for effortless and effective cleaning. Built-in safety bumper protects surrounding surfaces from accidental damage. The included 48-inch threaded wooded handle is sturdy, lightweight, and strong. Proudly made in the USA, the Sure-Hold MiniMate Soft Brush is the worldwide standard in deck brushes. Sure-Hold. Clean and simple.
Welcome back. Well, Nick, I got to tell you, this machine runs great.
Works really good.
And it makes some excellent water. Cheers. Well deserved.
Doesn't taste bad either.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. We've got some people to thank this week. We want to thank Nick out at Best Fabrications.
This guy can build some tanks. Gas, fuel, water. Good job.
Unbelievable. We want to thank both Ernie and Ron from Galley
Maid. Good stuff.
They make a good system.
Yep.
This is good stuff. It's affordable stuff. What else?
Well, we've been getting those hits on the internet, email. Don't be afraid to check in with us, www.shipshapetv.com.
Nick and I both have an email address. If you want to get a hold of Nick, it's nick@shipshapetv.com. If you want to get a hold of me, it's john@shipshapetv.com. If you want to write us the old-fashioned way, our address is Shipshape TV, P.O. Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33420. We're out of time.
That's it.
Till next week, guys.
Keep your boat ship-shape.
Nick, I gotta tell you, this thing came out great. And how about this water? It's good. It's a little chilly.